So, this is your host, Steve from the back. Always coming at you, raw and unscripted, just narrowly escaping, probably narrowly escaping being completely destroyed and shut down by YouTube, for all I know. Because YouTube has rules. So I feel like with these rants, I want to start changing the tone of these rants, and maybe I should try to make them a lot cleaner, a lot more clean. Maybe try not to be as, try not to use as try not to use as much profanity. Maybe just make these rants a little bit more stomachable for a broader audience. So, in this video, I guess I kind of would probably title this video and rant something along the lines of like, just kind of things to consider when thinking about this whole so-called phenomenon of cryptids. Because, when people say, like, people use words like phenomenon, and they always make it sound like something is so just unusual about this type of thing. Like, you always hear people say, it didn't make sense in the scheme of nature. Like as if anything makes any sense in this world. As natural as anything could be, like it really doesn't make any sense regardless, in my opinion. But whatever, I always use the argument that, like, no, the cryptids make every bit of sense for the world of nature. People just don't seem to make sense. If anybody's the weird thing, or I almost feel like it's not the cryptids that are the weird ones, it's us. It's us humans that are so weird. It doesn't make any sense. Like, how come we say we see cryptids, Bigfoot, Reptoid, I'm gonna go on a long list, screw it. They say like Bigfoot, Reptoids, you heard of like the Mothman, you heard of the Dog Man, you heard of a gray alien, what's that other thing? Tall white Nordic aliens, you hear of the rake, the crawlers, stuff like that. You hear of people even talking about like sea creatures, that are mermaids, things like that. Even a case of a supposed gargoyle-like creature. Or you even hear people say sometimes with cryptids that they don't know what it is. They're like, I saw something that looked like a gargoyle without wings. Like it was doing this, or it was perched in this position, or it was moving or walking here, or whatever, or crouched or whatever. Or I saw something that looked like a dog standing up. You always hear all this stuff, and in any of those sentences, it's almost like, okay, did it have on like a suit jacket? Was it wearing Gucci slippers? Did it have on shades? I don't know, a big chain? Cause you get my point. My point is, like, we wear those things outdoors, even though it makes no sense. If you see a butt-naked thing, I mean, when's the last time did you see a squirrel or a deer walk around with Ugg boots on, in an oversized shirt and Nikes or some stupid crap? When did you ever hear of seeing a stray cat, just stroll by, and the stray cat was driving, like a vehicle? Now, don't get me wrong, I believe, obviously, some beings that are like extraterrestrials pilot vehicles, obviously, and wear clothes sometimes, and I say sometimes. we all know this, being in the community of, you know, cryptozoology, and we all know about this. People that know about cryptids, we know this. But I'm just making a point to make you think a little bit differently. Like, is it actually the cryptids that are so weird, or is it us that are actually so weird? Because I really think that, honestly, we are very strange. Like, us as human beings, modern human beings, are very strange beings, actually. You know, that don't seem to really fit so well into the whole natural progression of anything, really. Seems like we have a lot of trouble just existing in anywhere, and it seems like, how come we don't really, we claim we know everything about, like, what's out in the middle of uninhabited areas, but we don't. we don't know. We don't spend time out there with, like, surveillance that's on the ground in multiple areas and can see what's going on day and night, because if we could, we would have tons of clear footage of these cryptids. It's only that we tend to spot them because we happen to cross paths with them and stuff like that. You know, and I also want to say in this rant, what I'm really going to talk about is, like, a couple of things about, like, how, now, I feel like, and I've always had this belief, even down to the most spooky, weird stuff, like, people sometimes talk about, oh, interdimensional beings that are, like, from different dimensions, actually, that they look kind of spooky and this and that, and they can look creepy and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, like, even to that level, all you have to do to really make something seem not as weird as you'd think it, like, you think seems weird, is just look in the animal kingdom. That's all you have to do. All you literally have to do is, like, really analyze, like, your dog, your cat, birds, lizards, apes, all the stuff that you see on, like, TV. When you really look at these animals, you start noticing, like, you know what? If you really look at it, like, if you were to literally, like, sit there, and I'm an artist myself. I don't know if you're an artist, but I'm an artist. And I could go through the trouble of doing this, but I don't really feel like even doing it. I don't, maybe in another video I'll actually draw something and I'll, like, put it up in a clip or something. I don't feel like doing that today, but I'm just describing how, like, you start looking at how animals just have similar features to people, but also on the same coin, they have very, very different features. You know, you look at the eyes, mostly, that's like one of the biggest things that stands out is difference, the eyes. You know, you look at the eyes, you look at the wrinkly skin, you look at the textures and colors of the skin. A lot of animals have areas where they don't really have much fur. When they do have no fur at all, you can really see, like, those eerily similar features that, like, all of us have, that just, you know, it's just very strange looking. But it's not really strange, because, I mean, it's just an everyday thing. I mean, you gotta understand, like, these animals have always been alive. Matter of fact, some of them we actually own in our houses, so it's not that weird. But, you know, you look at the face, just like, I put a couple images of these, they call them snub-nosed golden monkeys, and I'm not trying to be mean, but, you know, when I see the face of one of these things, I think, like, now, that is a face that only a mother could love. You know, that's when they say, like, you know, a face that only a mother could love, that's what you see when you're looking at these golden snub-nosed monkeys here. You know, I mean, they got that whole Michael Jackson decaying nose about to fall off, looks like you have no nose, upturned nose look, right? You know what I'm talking about. It looks horrific. It's like a Crypt Keeper nose, if you can even call it a nose, the lack thereof, you know. And it's just like, wow. Like, you know, it's funny because sometimes people talk about, like, cryptids or extraterrestrials or whatever beings having similar features. You know, like, when I put up this golden monkey picture, or pictures, the main reason why I chose that animal in this rant is because I remember hearing an account of a guy, and I can't find this video for the life of me, but there was this video where a guy was speaking on his account with Bigfoot-like creatures, and he described them as it was kind of an odd description, because he said when he first saw the first one, it was, I believe he said it was running near water or something, but it was like gliding across, not across the water, but gliding near the water, kind of like when a dog just a dog just kind of gallops or sprints across the floor or the ground, and you can see them moving. And sometimes when you're outdoors, you can glance over and you can clearly see that, and you just think, oh, it's just a dog just kind of moving around, just kind of running or sprinting or galloping, whatever. But it's on all fours, it's on the ground, so you kind of know how that looks. And he said he just thought it was kind of like maybe a skinny black dog, But I guess however this panned out in the story, and it was more than one of them too. It ended up being more than one. He said, the odd thing was almost not at one point. They rarely stood up, whatever these things were. They mostly were like crawling around and scurrying or whatever, sprinting, crawling around. And he said he saw their faces at certain points, and this man said that their cheekbones were so big and so high that if they were to turn to the side profile, you literally couldn't see their nose. And I'm thinking now, I will say that is a face. Like I was saying again, you gotta imagine now, that has to be a face, like one of these monkeys here, that only a mother could love. So, I mean, let's just be real. Obviously, it's not the girl next door, it's not the guy next door, obviously. Even though, depending on where you live, it literally may be the person next door, if you know what I mean. But obviously, it's not attractive, really. It's functional. It's like, whatever these things were, they were obviously adept and adapt to the wilderness. You know what I mean? Like an animal, But not saying that they're so different than us, you know what I mean? Because I'll say, I've never seen a person that I couldn't see their nose from the side profile, but have I seen people with cheekbones that are so just overly huge and upturned noses? Yes. And usually it's not that attractive, usually it just looks over exaggerated. But what he's talking about, I can get an image in my mind. We've all seen orangutans before, you know what I mean? It's kind of, I picture it's kind of like that. And I think this guy actually said something about the skin. If he could describe the skin on them, how its colors were. The hair, I think he said, was black, but the skin tone was kind of like one of those old orangutans. That's kind of like a mixture of a kind of almost Caucasian pinkish, but grays mixed in somehow, almost like a grayish tint skin, but with splotches of lighter color. And I know what he's talking about too. I know that look that he's talking about, that coloration that he's talking about. And yeah, it ain't it's not pretty. It is by no means pretty. It is pretty it's pretty downright ugly looking, to be honest with you. Like I said, some people say, oh, these golden monkeys are cute. Well, there's a cuteness to these monkeys, but they're cute in an ugly way, in my opinion. Even the babies, when I see a picture of one of these baby golden monkeys, it makes me think of the rake creature. The pale, that, ghostly white color, which I think actually is very pretty, is actually kind of attractive. I would imagine if there was a person that had that, sickeningly white color, if they were an attractive woman at the same time, I think it would just kind of add to how attractive they were. Even if they were the opposite, they were tire black, literally a rubber tire black, and they were attractive enough, I think, in my opinion, it makes it kind of sexy in a way, that type of weird look like that super contrast, super pigmentation or lack of pigmentation, I think is attractive, but I don't know, that's just my opinion. But I'll say the look of the face of these little baby monkeys with these snub-nosed and these nasty, they're just nasty looking, man. They just the nose gets me the most. You know, the eyes, those cold, dead eyes. You know, like the holes. They look like the holes for eyes, and those little black dots. It's like, it is very off-putting. It is very freaky. Now, I could draw a picture literally and make one of these monkeys into something else. I could actually take features from that monkey, mix it with something else, and make almost anything with the type of skills I have. Not trying to brag, I'm just saying I'm an artist, so I could easily do this. It would just take me some time. I'm thinking about really doing it in another video and like showing it what I'm talking about, so that you get a better visual. Because I know they have these like weird type of programs and stuff where you like throw pictures into an algorithm or something like that, and it generates something, and I'm pretty sure it would generate some images that have a lot of features like I'm talking about, these cryptids have. But really, I look at it, these features are really just primitive animal features, what they are. They're humanoid to a degree in a very uncanny and eerie way, but at the same time they are very animal. So that's all you're really dealing with. It's not like it's this monstrosity or this like unimaginable creature that people make it out to be. Like, they just get so freaked out and they just think like they really don't understand that, like, you know, you're just dealing with things in existence. You know what I mean? It's like you have flowers, you have grass, and you have trees. Now, they all have things in common, but they all have big differences, so they're gonna look different. You know what I mean? They're not gonna look like exactly like each other, is what I'm trying to say. I feel like that's the thing with these cryptids and other type of beings. Us and them, it's just, we're just kind of different, so we end up looking different. And you gotta understand, like, DNA and chromosomes and things like that in environment have a lot to do with the way anything looks. So I don't think it's really a good thing to get so like freaked out by everything, but just realize that is like, you know, they're not gonna look like you and me. If they looked like you and me, then they'd probably be strolling down the street getting ice cream or something, and what would be that it wouldn't be a big deal. You'd just be thinking these things were people, you know, and they're not. They're not exactly like us. So, you know, that's what I see when I see these cryptids. You know, they're not like us. They're not these handsome and sexy. And I also have to say this: it's like you got to realize that, like, I'm pretty sure in their world, in their society, or in their circles, they to each other, they look attractive. They probably, you know, obviously these things breed, and I'm talking about all. I'm pretty sure all of them do. Not all, but I'm sure some can't reproduce. Like, some of these beings probably don't have reproductive organs and stuff from maybe different dimensions, maybe, or different. How do I say this? Like, different parts of the galaxy or galaxies or whatever. ETs. I'm sure some of them are so way out of this world that they maybe don't, but I'm sure like some of these creatures you see running around that are walking around with, gosh darn, swinging, I'll just say the word, I'm trying to keep this clean, so I'll say the word peepees, with swinging peepees swinging around. Like, even some of these dogmen, you know, chasing people, and people are seeing their friggin' wee-wees swing around. Obviously they have male and female just like us, and they're breeding and having children, so obviously they're attracted to each other. Now, I'm sure we're not attracted to them for the most part, because like I said, you know, you got these animal eyes, you got faces only a mother could love, hanging skin, saggy skin, you know, the whole, that animal look. You already know what you're dealing with when you're dealing with an animal. You know what animals look like. You know what I mean? We all know what they look like. all these cryptids are, or I look at it like they're just slightly more humanoid types of animal-like things. That's all it is. They're really just, to some degree, have human attributes and looks and stuff, but then to another degree they have very much animal attributes and looks. And it's funny because this man also described with these creatures with these crazy looking cheekbones and noses that were so like flat and almost non-apparent that you couldn't see the nose from the side. That's crazy. You gotta imagine that. So if you turn to your side and you can't even see your nose and all you see is brow and then cheekbone, a big brow ridge and cheekbone, that's crazy. That's some crazy stuff right there we're talking about. that is some crazy stuff right there that you're talking about. Now, hey, it must work. You know what I mean? It must be functional. Just not pretty. You know, but he also said that he was impressed at how, in surprise, like how these creatures could literally stand behind a tree, peek out from a tree, and then when they would squat, they would almost pretty much squat by simply just spreading their, like, you know when your knees are in a straight position and then you turn them out and you can get lower very fast simultaneously. It's a weird thing, but it's something we can even kind of do too, but we don't do it exactly kind of like a primate could. But I know what he's talking about, how that type of movement where, and it's odd, this is like way left field story, but I'm gonna have to speak on this because it's just such a weird nuance. I have to talk about it. So there's this Indian martial art that they call Shastra Vidya, and a lot of their aspects of their martial arts has to do with like gods and stuff like that, Hindu gods and goddesses. And one of them is Hanuman, and the oddest thing is that Hanuman is actually a very ape-like being, is depicted as a very monkey or very ape-like being. And one of the things about a lot of these movements with Hanuman is the way that you have to drop your center of mass near like your pelvic area, and you turn out your knees in such a way to where that's pretty much like how you drop your center of mass, and you can simultaneously punch that way. And the odd thing is, when you do that type of movement, you actually are very structurally like stable, and you can generate a lot of force doing that. Actually, it's weird. It's very weird how the mechanics behind this art work. You know what I mean? It's very. What I'm saying is it's weird, but it generates a lot of force in like very energy-saving, efficient ways. That's the way I can describe it. So I just thought it's odd that like you literally have these creatures moving their knees like that to squat, to spread its strength. But honestly, you'd think it just makes sense. It honestly makes sense because it's an ape. Apes don't have the same bone ratios in length and size ratios that a human has. They just don't. They're built just a little bit different, so it would make sense that something like that could just do that so seamlessly and so easily, in that type of way. It just makes sense. They don't stand like us. They don't have the same center of gravity. They're different. They're much stronger than a human, I'd imagine. It'd be impossible that it wouldn't be. If you know anything about primates, primates are they're just built way different. Okay? No matter how similar they may look at first glance, they're different. But so I'm going on this rant saying, like, I don't think it's so out of this world that these things exist, nor is it so out of this world or strange their appearances, as numerous as they are. People describe all these different type of cryptids, and I put some of these pictures up of some of these very much more modern humans, that are like from primitive cultures, but they're modern humans, like Aboriginal, African, and even up to like these modern Caucasians that are very fair skinned and very pale, and obviously have features that are much more modern, much more conducive to like just our modern way of living. And it's just funny like how it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter from what race, culture you are. Us and humans and animals still have so much similarities when you really look at us. Like when you look at us with no bias, it's like when you look at a person or an animal with no biases, you start realizing like how different we are, but then you start realizing how similar we actually are. Like it's scary actually. You know, it's like you start thinking, well, if something was human enough, because there's always like a what would stop it from actually speaking? You know what I mean? What would stop it from being intelligent? What would stop it from actually accomplishing and coming to the same conclusions that we come to? You know what I mean? Like with certain things. Like you're thinking, well, it makes you wonder, what do we even know? Like we know things we do know about that exist, but I ask the question, how many things can be out there that we actually don't even know exist? You know? And like you look at these elephants' eyes, you look at the eyes of these sea turtles, these primate eyes, you look at the eyes of these gorillas and things like that, and it's the same eyes that people describe when they're talking about these cryptids. You know, these hairless cats. These are the same bodily features in structures and things that these, you know, like when you look at an elephant's skin, this is all the same I'm trying to keep this clean. This is all the same stuff that people are describing when they're talking about, I saw this creature, I saw that, it looked like this, I was abducted, they looked like this, they looked like that. It's really all the same stuff you're talking about. It's nothing like I feel like people make it out to be so weird, but you really have to know what you're really looking at. You have to really look at it for what it is. Like, you know, it's not super out of this world. It's just a creature, just like a person, you know. It's like you look at these chimpanzees and you realize, like, wow, they're really, it wouldn't take so much change for that to, like, you know, they do like a before and after, they morph something into something. It's like for you to morph that into what you would call a person, or at least what would show no signs of being anything else, it wouldn't take so much for it to start looking like a person. You know, so you gotta really ask the question, like, are we so special? Or are they so weird? Or are we so weird? You know, like, or is it really what I think? Like, I look at it like, you know, this universe is just a whole big weird creation of a lot of creatures, a lot of just weird, diverse creatures, because, you know, that's just how I see it, man. I know some people, especially Christians, they have this weird belief, like they think of it like anything that isn't animal that's in, like, you know, the science books and that I grew up hearing about, anything in between has to be demonic. They're like, if I see anything, that they don't say it like that, but that's actually how they actually are if you really talk to them or listen. I'm gonna throw shade because it's where shade needs to be thrown. I grew up in a Christian family, so I know firsthand. That's how these ignorant bastards, I'm not gonna curse, but that's how these ignorant bastards think. They see something that is any bit not as human as they think it should look, and all of a sudden it's demonic. It's just to them that they don't know what it is. It's alien to them. It has to be demonic in their eyes. They don't even have the sense to think like, well, maybe it's something that wasn't mentioned in my Bible. I'm not saying their Bible has any validity because I don't believe a word of it. But I'm just saying, even if you were to believe the Bible about creation, just because the Bible doesn't say something, talk about something, how does that mean that you just don't know about it? Like, doesn't it say that, like, God knows a lot more than we know? I don't know how the Bible says it, but they always speak on, like, how God has so much more knowledge of things that we don't know everything. So like, how would you, if it just be like, what, maybe God didn't maybe God didn't feel like or need to speak on other races and other things that he created. Now, I don't believe that in any bit, but I'm just saying, logically, you think logic would make you at least come to a conclusion closer to that rather than, well, but I don't know. I guess their conclusion is everything they don't understand is demonic. Everything. I mean, literally, like, even something that would seem more human, you know, like, if a mermaid was real, which it very well may be real, I don't know, but they would find some type of way to say, oh, it's all, I almost feel like it's too much mental pressure and emotional pressure for them to even consider there's something other than themselves. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm not saying that how I should, but I don't know. I feel like it's just something really messed up about the way that they view a lot of things. They just don't understand something, lump it into the so-called demonic. And it's pretty fun. It's actually comical. It's not funny because it's seriously retarded, but it's kind of comical because it's like it's like that whole Waterboy syndrome. You know the movie Waterboy? He's actually so dumb that he doesn't realize that he's dumb. He's that stupid that he actually thinks he knows everything because his span is so small. So he literally had to educate himself to even see past that, like, you know, to realize how stupid he was. And then when he actually explains to his mom the truth about things, I forgot if it was his mom or whoever, but I think it was his mom, then she just flips out and gets mad and calls everything the devil, like these Christians do, because their mind is so small. It's like they're literally stuck on stupid, and then if you try to present like some type of fact, some type of logical thought to them, it's just overwhelming. It's like, because they're taught, it's almost like they're taught to resist any like adverse view or anything. So, hey, you know, it is what it is, man. It's a very, in my opinion, it's a very circular trap to get caught in that type of thinking. You know, like, oh well, this has to be wrong, it has to be demonic, it has to be this, it has to be bad because I don't understand it. You know, it's like, yeah, oh, okay. Alright. You're probably just missing out on things that you may not need to miss out on. That's how I look at it, but that's your choice, because it's your life. So, I don't think I should stress this video out anymore, because I think I made my point. These are just things to consider and things to maybe think about when you're dealing with researching and trying to understand cryptids. Cryptids is what this is about. This is about cryptozoology. This is about cryptid creatures. And I'm your host, Steve, from the back. And this is like just another Cryptid Rant. And have a nice day.